Welcome everyone to the Atomic Cinema Experiment. I am Peter, and joining me, as always, the person who stated right before we started this episode that what we were about to talk about is the best shark movie ever made. Welcome, Tara.
Greetings, citizens. I mean, I can't even think of another shark movie that would be better. Nothing comes to mind.
Nothing with a bigger boat, perhaps. So, yes, welcome. This is a science fiction movie podcast. We get together, we talk about a movie. And you're probably saying, science fiction movie podcast, shark movie. Is this really fit the bill? Well, I'll admit, I said this last week. It's a little borderline, but it won our Patreon vote. Every month on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, our patrons at $5 and up get to vote between 4 movies. And Deep Blue Sea, which is a bit of a wild horse because it's barely sci-fi. But there is some...
What do you mean, barely sci-fi?
In the traditional sense, I know there's a lot of, like, bullshit science in this, but that doesn't necessarily make it sci-fi. It just makes it, schlocky.
It makes it science fiction? Okay.
So, we're going to talk about Deep Blue Sea. Before we get into the movie discussion, though, I will just remind everyone that you can probably sneak in just before the end of the month and get your top sci-fi list submitted. There'll be a link in the description. We're doing a top 50 sci-fi movies vote. You can submit your own top 20 or more at the link in the description. So please go do. You've got until the 1st of July to submit your list. So go do that, please. Thank you. All right. So I guess it's just spoilers. I don't think anyone... If you've not seen Deep Blue Sea, right? If you've not seen 1999's Deep Blue Sea, directed by auteur Rennie Harlin, the acclaimed director of Die Hard 2, Cliffhanger, and I believe the 4th Nightmare on Elm Street film, then you've been warned, basically.
I've seen all of those movies. I really love Cliffhanger, actually. We should do that one on sci-fi.
That's not... You can't call that a sci-fi movie. Look, if you want to do the occasional extra action thing, I'll listen to you. But do not try to bullshit me.
We'll hold on to Cliffhanger until, Tim has another baby.
Yeah. Don't try and bullshit Cliffhanger at the sci-fi show, okay? At least with this, you've got genetically modified super smart sharks. I can accept this one barely.
Yeah. And, their, base of operations is pretty sci-fi.
Yeah, sure. It feels like a relatively science fiction kind of setting, even though, yeah, we'll get into it. Anyway, so... It's a shark movie. It's got a pretty interesting cast, and also Saffron Burrows, unfortunately. But
of Wing Commander fame.
Of Wing Commander fame. She is really bad though. Like she's trying to be serious all the time, and it comes across as this really forced thing. It's like she's constipated or something. I don't.
Yeah, she's not a good actress.
It's pretty rough. But you've got Samuel L. Jackson. You got Thomas Jane. LL Cool J,
Rappaport,
Stellan Skarsgård, Rappaport. I will say, not to just rag on some of the actresses, but I thought the short-haired blonde woman, I don't know who, I don't know her from anything else. She wasn't as bad as Burrows by any means, but she was a little bit, yeah, she's a minor character in a schlocky shark movie. That's basically.
Yeah, you're just kind of waiting for her to die.
Yeah. So. But it's a pretty interesting cast. You got some people. It's funny because Stellan Skarsgård, I never thought of as young in this movie when I saw it originally when it came out, but he looks so young.
He's really young though, right?
He looks so young because I'm so used to him from the Thor movies now.
Right, and I obviously because of the name, you think of his sons and you're like, but they're so handsome, and he's just this guy. He doesn't, he's like a Chernobyl guy. He doesn't really come off as
a Chernobyl guy.
Yeah, he's not the father of those guys, but in here, I can kind of see it. Obviously, he probably has a really hot wife, but
it's funny to think that his sons when he made this were probably not far off my age at the time. I imagine.
Yeah, I guess they'd be older than babies.
Yeah, I don't know what age they are, but I imagine they were probably 10 to 15ish at this point, something in that range.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, we got an interesting cast, if nothing else. We have some 1999 CGI, which...
Oh, boy.
it's hitting. I actually think there's moments where it holds up well enough for the moment that it's doing, but then there's other times where I never noticed before just how bad some of the CG water looked, because there's a couple of shots. It's at night time when the helicopter's coming in. There's like a rescue helicopter coming in, and I don't think I'd ever noticed it before, but the water under the helicopter is all CG, and it actually does look quite rough. It's just, I think they got away with it for so long because it's dark, and maybe before maybe back when you watched this in standard definition, back when it came out and it was just DVD for a long time, maybe that had that, it just obscured it enough that you didn't really see how bad the CG was, but now it's like, it looks kind of rough.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so like 1999, early 2000s with like the music choice, having a rapper in the movie.
And he does a song for the movie. I'm pretty sure.
Oh my god, the music. This song is so ridiculous. What does it mean to have a hat like a shark fin? Why is that cool?
All I could think was, why didn't LL Cool J also do a song for Halloween H2O? Because he was in that.
That's right, yeah.
I want to hear him rap about Michael Myers. Come on, give me some slasher movie rhymes. I want to hear them. But yeah, you got this very interesting cast. We'll probably talk about them a little bit more as we get into the characters. But and honestly,
and also Ronnie Cox is in it, I guess.
Oh yeah. Joe, this is so weird. I don't think I ever noticed it was him before. But yeah, right at the start of the movie,
he has such an obvious face. You're like, wait a second, did we just suddenly become RoboCop?
Does he even have a line of dialogue?
No,
because it's right.
He just sits there, and you're like, well, I guess this company's evil because Ronnie Cox is running it.
It's right at the start of the movie. It's after there's been like the one random shark thing's happened, right? And it's Saffron Burrows coming in to basically beg for more time because this is the company that's funding all of her weird research, which we'll talk about in a minute. And it's Samuel L. Jackson's one of the head honchos because he's really rich, and there's a bit of backstory where he survived some avalanche thing, which comes up a few times. But he's the one who does all the talking, and I never noticed until this viewing that the old white man sitting at the desk who never says anything is Ronnie Cox from RoboCop and Total Recall and other notable.
He must have had lines that just got cut, right? Like, why else do you do Ronnie Cox?
There's deleted scenes on the disc. I never watched them, but I mean, maybe they're. But speaking of the extras, funny. I remember, because I didn't watch the extras this time. I watched the extras not even on the Blu-ray. I watched the extras on the DVD that I had a long time ago, which were the same extras. And the only things I remember about the extras is in one of the really short, really fluffy featurettes. They weren't really that interesting. Is Rennie Harling said he dares anyone to spot the difference between the practical sharks and the CG sharks, which, yeah, sure, Rennie. Sure.
Okay.
Right? And the second thing is the audio commentary is Rennie Harlin and Samuel L. Jackson. No, they're not together, though. It's not like one of the conversation ones. It's more, they were recorded separately and it's been edited together. And the only thing I remember about the whole thing is Samuel L. Jackson saying that he originally was looking at the chef role, but when they were casting the movie, the chef actually died like halfway through the film, and then so he turned it down, took the other role instead, and he doesn't know how it happened, but somehow the chef became the hero who survived until the end of the movie.
Yeah, and his character is the one that gets eaten by a shark halfway through.
So I always remembered that detail from that commentary track. I don't remember anything else from it, but I remember that.
That's pretty funny. I did see in the trivia that that Saffron was she was supposed to survive also, but like test audiences hated it because she was sort of responsible for the whole thing. I'm sort of like giving away the whole movie here, but whatever, spoilers.
Yeah, we're on spoilers, it's fine. Go on.
So they did reshoots to basically kill her off at the end because
that's funny.
Because the audience just hated her. They didn't think she should be a hero.
I get it. Because I mean, they tried to give her the arc, because the arc of the film is basically she was willing to sacrifice anyone to finish her research, right?
Yeah.
And the arc is supposed to be at the end, she's willing to kill the shark, and that's why she sacrifices herself to help kill the shark. And that's meant to be your kind of arc. But to be honest, because she's so unlikable the whole movie, you just kind of want to see her get eaten. It doesn't really matter what the arc is.
It never occurred to me that she should survive this film the whole time. So I'm with the test audience here.
Sure, yeah, I think it was a right choice.
Although I do think her death is somewhat pointless because she sort of does it. We'll talk about when we come.
Yeah.
against it. But like it, because I watched the movie with knowing that trivia part, and so at the end it just seemed like I could see where they did the reshoots to like change this.
Yeah. No, I can kind of see how you would just have her be around still, without. I don't know how Thomas Jane's ends up in the water for his big climactic moment, but I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure it's probably on the DVD. The alternate ending's probably on the DVD if you want to watch it. But so, and honestly, LL Cool J is kind of bizarrely the heart of the movie, so it makes sense that he has to survive. In fact, the one time I remember, the first time I ever watched the movie back, which I think I saw when it was like pay-per-view at the time, back when movies would hit pay-per-view before they would be on the movie channels. I think that's when I saw Deep Blue Sea, probably in early...
I saw it in the theater.
It was probably early 2000 when I saw it. And I remember that I'd seen the trailer, because this was back when you had to go to like Apple trailers and get QuickTime so you could watch movie trailers, because that was the only way you could see trailers. I remember seeing the trailer for Deep Blue Sea.
It really doesn't seem like that was that long ago, but yeah.
It was 2 decades, yes.
Oh, yeah. Well, time flies.
But I remember the only time, and this is not to say that I dislike the movie. I have a lot of fun with this movie still today. But I remember the only time I cared about a character was when it looked like LL Cool J was going to die, because he was easily the character everyone liked the most. Although I actually think upon a rewatch that Thomas Jane's also pretty likable for the most part.
I think so too.
But yes, so he is the heart of the movie, and even the music tells you he's the heart of the movie, because he's the one who gets this more kind of like heroic sounding music at various points. Like, see when he's recording his like possible goodbye video in case he dies. Like I think that's the first time you hear kind of the sweet heroic theme that plays, and then it plays again at the end when he's coming to save Thomas Jane. He's like, he's crawling because he's had half of his leg bitten off, and he's like, but I'm going to do it. The only sad part is that he doesn't get like another cool one-liner before, because this is the thing. LL Cool J kills 2 of the 3 sharks in this movie.
He really is the hero.
He kills 2 of them. The first one on his own completely. Might I add? It's like he does the first one completely on his own. Saffron Burrows gets the other one in a scene which just has an excuse for her to take her clothes off. And even though it kind of makes sense, it doesn't change the fact that the writers came up with a reason for it. Like they thought of something that would require for her to take her wetsuit off.
Yeah, I mean it's a total eye roll scene.
Yes.
I remember in the theater watching it and going, "Come on, they're gonna pull a Ripley with us." Because I always hated that Ripley takes her clothes off in the end of Alien.
To be fair, Ripley's going to sleep though. It's actually more natural and justifiable.
Yeah, I know, but it just she has the world's smallest panties on. It's all butt crack.
Is that a 70s thing? Was that just like a late 70s? This was the popular...
it's late 70s future thing, I guess.
Yeah. Oh yeah, maybe that was the logic. Maybe, women in the future are going to have tiny panties.
Yeah.
Maybe that was
and
the
it doesn't
thought.
go up the butt crack. We're just going to ignore the butt crack entirely.
Now all I can hear in my head now is Judy Gemstone saying she's a woman now because she wears panties that go up a crack.
That was such a good show. Righteous Gemstones.
I'm looking forward to season 2. Anyway, so and Thomas Jane. This is the first time I saw Thomas Jane. Probably Michael Rappaport as well. This is the first time I experienced either of those actors.
It's Thomas Jane's like first big role.
Yeah, but
I've his breakout role.
And he's been in tons of stuff over the years that I have not seen, and maybe I should rectify some of that. But I sort of fell in love. I fell in love with him as an actor because of his role on The Expanse, because he's really good on that show. His character was really cool, and so I have more of an appreciation seeing him again in this. Like now that I've like really, because I like this movie and I've always had fun with this movie. Like it's not like a seriously good thing versus The Expanse, which I love. Like I love The Expanse. So it's nice to come back to this now and go, he's in something I really, really care about now. So it's nice to go back and be like, I have an appreciation for this now. So
that's good. I mean, I don't really know him that well from movies. Like obviously, I know The Punisher, and that's the first thing I think of when I think of Thomas Jane is his role in The Punisher. But You know, and Arrested Development did like a long running joke where Portia de Rossi's character was like in love with the homeless guy that she was pretty sure was an actor, but I don't know. It was like a funny long running joke, and his name was Thomas Jane, but I can't think if it was the same actor or not who played him. I don't think it was, but that's what I think of also when I hear Tom Jane.
I'm trying to remember if I remember a homeless looking Thomas Jane in Arrested Development now. It sounds like
Maybe
something
they just
that
use the name Tom Jane.
and I don't know.
They look very similar.
It sounds
but
like
I actually don't think it's him.
it sounds like something that show would do though.
Right.
It sounds like something that show would do and actually get the actor. It's not like he was such a huge name they couldn't have got him.
I mean, he does TV shows all the time now, right? He does The Expanse.
Yeah. He was unhung for however many seasons that ran.
That's right. I remember that show. I never watched it. I remember the trailers and the posters, though.
So, Michael Rappaport. I don't know if I like. I always remember how he speaks because he speaks in such a distinctive way. I don't know if I've seen him in much though since.
Yeah, he's got that New York, whatever subsection of New York accent.
Who are you going to trust? Me, because I'm trustworthy. I don't know. You sound kind of sketchy, to be honest. There, Rappaport.
I know. I don't know if I believe him as like a Caltech graduate.
Is this the equivalent of Tara Reid putting on glasses and Alone in the Dark and saying she's a scientist?
Not quite, but
I'm a scientist.
scientists don't call themselves scientists.
That's the best part about it. So cast character. Samuel L. Jackson's pretty dependable. He kind of adds this gravitas. I mean, not gravitas to be a bit of a strong word, but he adds some star power to the movie because at the time he was by far the biggest star, and arguably still is. But at least today, like some of the others are known a bit more now. Not Saffron Burrows. No one remembers her. But
no.
Actually,
she wasn't in like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. though, right? I guess you probably know her from that. I think so.
Well, I actually... Oh, she was. Yeah, she was Victoria Hand in S.H.I.E.L.D. Okay. I didn't recognize her, I guess. Or maybe if I did, I forgot that she was in it. I mean, she is still working.
Well, this was 20 years ago.
She's still doing things. So...
People still hire her.
Well, yeah, but when we saw Wing Commander, I immediately went, oh, that's her from Deep Blue Sea. Like, I immediately clocked. Because it was around the same time, obviously.
And she had that 90s, like, heroin addict beauty queen look.
What?
That was like a thing. Like, all the Calvin Klein models were just, like, anorexic heroin addict looks. That was a 90s thing.
I was about to say, oh shit, she was in Time Cop, but she wasn't. She was in a movie called Time Code. So, abort.
Yeah, I don't think Time Cop is. She would be pretty young.
Yeah, probably. Yes. Which I guess adds to the ridiculousness of this movie's plot a little bit. That someone, because she's still in her 20s in this movie, right? And she's been working her whole life trying to cure Alzheimer's, and she's already the head of a super secret underwater research facility that's doing experimental shark stuff that a billionaire's paying her to do. Like, I don't know, it all just feels a little bit like she's found her level of success rather early in her life.
Right, yeah.
I expect this person to be double her age.
Right, even like if it was Stellan Skarsgård, I would have some questions.
Yeah. In fact, there's a lack of anyone over Skarsgård's probably the oldest one.
I think so.
I mean, not counting Samuel L. Jackson because he's like the CEO who comes in, but
yeah,
out of the
he's
people,
ageless.
Yeah, out of the people who are working there, there's like no one older than Skarsgård, and he's maybe like 40, but like everyone else is like in their maybe early 30s.
Right.
And it's like, so no like, people with some authority running around. So a bunch of kids with sharks.
Well, they all left. They had to leave because the storm was coming.
Sure, yeah, maybe they were.
Which reminds me, there's a lot of parallels to Jurassic Park in this movie, and not just Samuel L. Jackson.
I mean, if he said "hold on to your butts" at any point, I would have, I'd have popped.
I wouldn't be surprised if he did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if it had come up, I would have been like, of course he didn't have said that.
So, Yeah, I mean the plot of the movie. Yeah, so they're enhancing sharks because they believe they can extract a certain protein from shark brains to restore parts of a human brain, therefore curing multiple things, but the key one being Alzheimer's, which Saffron Burrows gives us a monologue about how horrible it was to see her father go through Alzheimer's. Which, by the way, so just a little thing in this movie, they actually do it. It works. Like, they found a cure for degenerative diseases. However, it obviously all is never going to be used because the cost was too high because they've made super sharks. Watching this again and like sort of thinking about it with a more critical eye and whatnot, like some of the small things in the script that I'm noticing this time, which is like they have to like have a conversation talking about all of the like the conventions that are being broken and the fact that all the other characters like believe they're not breaking any, but just so later on Saffron Bros goes, yeah, we actually did break all those conventions. I made super sharks.
And the other scientist was like, you son of a bitch. Like, how would you not have known while working on these sharks that they are like, their brains are like 5 times bigger than usual?
Or even just the fact that when they go to do the testing, because there's like a day they spend and there's like the birthday party for Saffron Burrows at the end of the night, right in the first day. We'll go back and talk about some of that stuff, but when they're going to do the experiment or to get the samples, right, and they have to have Thomas Jane go in and like sort of wrangle the shark, because we see that he's very good at like, if he knows the shark's there and he's expecting it, he can sort of dodge the shark and so on and so on, right? There's a license plate joke, which I believe is the same license plate that they used in Jaws.
Yeah, it's like he's like a matador under the water.
Yes. So, but there's a moment where the shark recognizes the gun and swims backwards from it, right?
Which they can't do. Sharks cannot do.
Which they point out, right? And Samuel L. Jackson says, tell me I didn't just see that. He recognizes that gun, and then they swim backwards, and then the blonde scientist goes, but that's impossible. Sharks can't swim backwards. And all I could think was, wait, how are they only showing all of these signs of like new abilities minutes before you're about to do this? This feels like just all of a sudden they're doing all these really smart things.
Well, the key is that they needed Samuel L. Jackson to be there,
yes.
I guess.
Yes.
He's the only new element.
I mean, because as much as the sharks are getting smarter, and we find out they've got a bit of a plan as to what they're doing throughout the movie. It's not like they know when they're coming for them, so it's not like they've been holding off until this point to show off all their new tricks.
Right. Yeah.
But yes, the sharks swim backwards and show signs of recognition, and as we see throughout the movie, they're actually intentionally forcing the humans to do things that will ultimately reach their goal.
Yeah. Yes, we think that the sharks are the experiment, but actually the sharks are experimenting with humans like rats in a maze.
As goofy as a lot of this is, and how some of the setup and payoff in the script is very clunky, because it's just kind of like one conversation. It's still
really fun.
It's still really fun. But there's one conversation to set up and then one sort of payoff, right? Just for example, how high are those fences? It's like, blah, blah, blah.
8 feet or something.
Yeah, well, raise them. And they're, titanium or whatever below the water level, but above it, they're just normal fences, right? So the goal of the sharks, the whole movie, is basically to sink the station enough that the water is up above the weak part of the fence so they can get through it. Because their entire goal the whole time is just to escape. And do you know what?
Get to that deep blue sea.
For a schlocky ass movie, I'm going to give them that moment where he says the title. I actually think is not that stupid.
I don't think so either. Yeah.
I think it makes sense. What do these sharks want? They just want to be free.
They want freedom.
That's it.
What do all smart people want? Or smart beings want? They want to be free.
Yeah, it's all about the deep blue sea. It's just like in Silence of the Lambs, when you hear why they call it Silence of the Lambs, you go, they just want the deep blue sea. It's not. I'm being a bit facetious, but I actually don't think it sounds silly in the moment. As far as they said the title moments go, it's okay. It's actually, it fits perfectly into the B movie they've built.
Mm-hmm. It looks like you're drinking a beer can.
I'm not. It's just Monster, sugar-free Monster, man.
Yeah. Well, I'm not bothered by sugar. Clearly.
What? Was that I'm really sweet joke?
No.
don't. What?
What? I'm just. It's just a joke. It's fine.
Oh dear. So, yes, I still enjoy Deep Blue Sea. It's stupid as all hell.
It's
But-
so ridiculous.
It's got some fundamentals that I think work as a B-movie survival film, which is they essentially get trapped at the bottom of this underwater station, and it's about
Yeah, it
making their way
becomes
to the
like a
surface.
Poseidon adventure.
It kind of does, yeah.
Yeah.
There's just also sharks that are going to eat them if they go to certain locations.
Smart sharks that really love banging on doors.
Smart sharks who bang on doors and break through doors and all sorts of things. So to rewind to the earlier part of the movie, the one character thing that's kind of, or the two character things. So Samuel L. Jackson and Thomas Jane kind of have little character things. Samuel L. Jackson's been kind of mentioned, which is the fact that he survived some avalanche incident, which, from the sounds of it, it was like a thing where they survived, but there was like a week or something where they had to fight their way out of the snow and get down the mountain or whatever. They're in the Alps, I think they said. And it's like sort of teased that it was just the thing that he doesn't like to talk about and whatever. But it comes up in the big speech in the middle of the movie. He's like, you know what? There were 7 of us that survived the avalanche, but only 5 of us made it out. And, we all, swore that we'd always say that it was the snow that did it. But it was really our arguing. And even possibly implying that there was a fight that led to some deaths and that a human died because someone killed them. Or maybe not intentionally necessarily, but it led to an accident. And that's kind of it. And it's okay. It's just kind of there. I guess the point of it...
he's good at telling the story.
Oh, he's good. I mean, Samuel L. Jackson, he knows how to yell at people. He's wonderful
Oh my
at
God.
it.
That's why he gets so much work.
It is. I mean, I shit you not, the last like 8 years, I'm pretty sure since the existence of Letterboxd, like when they do their stats at the end of the year, every single year, the most watched actor is Samuel L. Jackson.
Yep.
And if I go to my personal stats for all time, guess what actor I've seen in the most movies? Samuel L. Jackson.
All 400 of Samuel L. Jackson's films.
And it's not even like he's just a couple above someone else. Like, he is the winner by like over 10. Like, he's like far and above in front of everyone else. He's in so many movies, and he's always dependable.
Oh yeah, always.
Always.
Although I've not seen Snakes on a Plane, but
I
suspect he's somewhat dependable in that too.
I would say that the movie relies upon him being dependable in that. I mean, I think obviously from a dramatic point of view, you could say that this is all like the person who's already survived a big serious thing gets just killed off like that. But honestly, I think it's meant to be darkly quite funny. I think this is a genuine moment of black humor. This is death. The shock.
Oh yeah, I
shark
remember
jumps out.
watching it in the theater and just being like, "What just happened?" Like, and everybody in the audience was just like laughing and like clapping at that moment. It's an
Don't get me
American
wrong.
audience.
And it's just the extreme close up. The last thing he says before it happens is this extreme close up of his face as he's yelling, and it's really like up there in his grill, so it feels like really uncomfortable almost.
Yeah, and he's given the speech of like, we're going to survive and we're going to do it. Step 1, cover this blank, and then shark.
To the point where in Jurassic World, where something similar happens to a dinosaur, me and Matt both called it getting Samuel L. Jackson, because that's now what we call that. When something jumps out of the water and grabs someone that's on the land, it's a Samuel L. Jackson now.
Yep.
That's what it is. But it is genuinely quite a funny beat. That said, so they get away with it still because it's very, very quick. But if you're paying attention, it is the worst CG in the whole film.
Oh yeah. Sam Jackson turns to rubber.
It looks really rough. I do like the touch though, where the shark kind of drops the top half of his body while he's munching on the bottom half, and then he has to grab the top half again. If you watch it and pay attention, there's a little bit
I like that the CGI sharks have personality. They're kind of like Looney Tune characters almost. Or they're like Michael Myers.
Little Michael Myers, I guess. So yeah, that's him. And then the other character thing, Thomas Jane, is that he has like a past. Like he was in prison because he was a smuggler and he did like piracy or something. Like not movie piracy, like actual
really
piracy.
Good at sneaking up in boats.
He
The
is,
opening
yes.
scene, he just like appears.
Yeah, I forgot about this opening scene, and I remember. I think I remember this opening scene really well, although not necessarily as part of this movie, because back when I said I watched this on pay-per-view, back when pay-per-view was a thing at the end of the 90s, start of the 2000s, the way it always worked is you'd always be able to watch the first couple of minutes of the movie and then it would cut off because they always wanted to tease you into buying it by like seeing the first
I
2 or
gotta
3
know what
minutes.
happens next.
Yeah. So I remember like just having the pay-per-view like channel on and seeing like the few minutes of this opening scene like probably like too many times. Because I was a kid and I was like determined to convince the parents to let me order pay-per-view. I wanted to see Deep Blue Sea.
Yeah.
Priorities.
What I was thinking when it happened was because I know we were unsure if this was more horror or sci-fi because it was already borderline. And as soon as it started, I was like, oh crap, this is just a horror movie. It's starting with like teenagers having sex on a boat, being stalked by a killer.
Are they maybe teenagers?
I guess they're young adults.
Yeah, I would have
Late
said
teens, early 20s.
I would have
maybe.
said college days. I think, yeah.
Yeah.
But then again, movies sometimes, like if they told me they were teenagers, I'd just be like, sure, I'll go with
Whatever.
it. But
Sure. Yeah.
yeah, they
Rich
don't look like
teens with a
teenagers.
boat. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Douchebag, young, rich people on a boat. Yeah, that's basically how I would describe them.
Yeah. Young hot girl in bikinis.
So, yeah, but it never really like plays into things all that much. The only real drama that ever comes from the fact that he has this past and he took this job, like, this got him kind of out of trouble by taking this job, is when he confronts Saffron Burrows for manipulating the sharks and essentially putting them all in danger because these sharks are like super sharks, right? She basically says like, how about you trust that we do this experiment and stop recommending that it's not safe, or maybe we'll all lose a job and you'll be, we'll be on the street, but you'll be back in prison. Yeah, that's not the line, but that was the sentiment of the conversation.
Yeah. Like she's a villain, right? Like why would they ever make her a hero? Anyway,
there's several points that I was expecting the pinky to come up. I'll do that side. You'll be back in prison. Except that would be too much character for her to that actress to display. She's too
right
stoic.
Well, that's why you get Ronnie Cox, because then okay, this company is evil. It's being run by Ronnie Cox.
Even though they're trying to cure Alzheimer's, which is a pretty noble goal typically.
That's true.
I mean, I can't really argue with the goal, but I mean, this is the thing. You could almost do a more serious version of this movie where it's about do the ends justify the means and really explore that. This movie doesn't. Let me make that clear. It doesn't.
Right, yeah.
But
and there's the whole like ethical side of like animal testing.
Yes.
And because they've made them into super sharks and with like they are super smart and is it ethical? I mean, obviously I don't think it's ethical either way, but if they're as smart as humans, then like we've created something. Are we allowed to like let that go free now? Should it have its freedom because it is like a person in the water basically now?
I mean, I get why they can't let it be free, because if the shark that was going to get out breeds and then we end up with tons of these things, then the human race might actually be in danger. So I get why they can. I mean, I will
but
say
that's why humans can't play God.
I mean, I agree with the humans not playing God. I will say, like, as far as like testing on animals goes, obviously I'm against most versions of it. I mean, from a medical standpoint, if we're trying to cure things, I am a bit more open to the notion that okay, it's not nice, but ultimately we have to test on a living thing, right? I mean,
well, most of the time it's completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
It's more of an archaic practice. The thing that is like that is kind of tough is like a lot of cancer research and stuff comes from horseshoe crab, which have been around. I think I brought this up before in another discussion, but like they've been around since the Cambrian explosion, which is like when all life on Earth started, and they haven't changed at all genetically or anything in the last like however many billions of years that was ago, but they're starting to go extinct because humans are using them for cancer research because their blood is like super blood. But yeah, now they're like going extinct.
Yeah.
Even though they're the longest surviving creature on Earth.
it's tough because again, the goal of curing cancer is not one that I think you can argue with. It's as ethical as it possibly can be, but
Right.
Obviously there's a cost.
Yeah.
So it's different from, oh, we'll test these beauty products on an animal.
Rabbits,
No,
yeah.
stop it. No one getting new eyeshadow is worth the cruelty of doing this to an animal.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, but obviously it's not a serious movie. It's not really. I mean, it's technically there in the thinnest possible way because
Sure.
she's done this, and there's like almost a karma element to it where, well, it's coming for you.
I mean, it's a little bit like the Planet of the Apes remakes too. Like, we have genetically modified these apes to be as smart as humans. So now do they get some sort of like sovereignty or autonomy, or is it?
I get what you're saying. I would compare that more to like a robot movie where the robots gain sentience, and at that point, what rights does the robot have, kind of thing. The idea of like Data, for example, in Star Trek, the idea of like Measure of a Man, all that kind of thing.
Who could definitely kill all humans if he like was programmed to.
True. Which does beg the question: if the shark did get into the ocean, because they say it right at the start of the movie. Sharks don't actually like eating humans. It's just, if they do it, it's by mistake or they think they're in danger or something. Like, it's not.
They're just trying to escape their prison. They're being mutilated and tested on. They're just trying to get out. Like, are they really the villains?
So
do they really deserve to be exploded and burned and electrocuted?
That explosion at the end, that was pretty cool.
So much blood.
Actually, one of the things, so the 5.1 mix in this was very aggressive with the bass, right? Because the first time, like right in the opening scene when the college students, whoever they are on the boat, and there's like a shot of a shark going past the camera. Maybe right after the title, there's like a shot of a shark going past the camera, and the rumble of the bass, as it goes past, was like, damn, okay, this is going to be quite lively, shall we say. See, when after the first accident where Skarsgård loses the arm, right? Which is a fun sequence. Great scene. And they call in the helicopter. The shark
I like the idea that the shark just wanted the cigarette, though. Give me that nicotine. Ow. And bites his arm. Sorry. Go ahead.
So they're trying to the storm's coming, so they can't all necessarily stand out. So when they get up to the surface, it's the stormy and windy and wet and all that. So they just have the helicopter try to lift up Skarsgård's stretcher, right? And basically, the sharks, because Skarsgård falls into the water, the sharks basically drag the helicopter into the building, and the tower where the one character who's up there, this woman who's up there playing music, she gets blown up. The explosion that happens when this explosion, you know, sometimes in movies they'll do that thing where it's kind of like they'll show the explosion 3 times from different angles, but it's so cool looking that they just get away with it because we want to show it, right? This explosion of the surface level of this place lasts so long, and so many ignitions happen. There's so many little mini explosions.
It's like Deepwater Horizon.
It's like, what is exploding up here? Is there just fuel tanks? Like,
Yeah, I guess. Right.
spread up all over the place? Like, what's going on?
It's on water. There's not really very much there. Everything, the whole station's underwater.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate some. This is the thing. I think some of the cast obviously make this movie fun. I also think Rennie Harlin, while he doesn't typically make, prestigious movies, I actually think he's a solid director in that he does good visuals. And
Totally.
There's a moment early on in this where we've been up on the surface for a little bit, and it's when they're showing Jackson around the underside, and we get a shot. It's like Thomas Jane's walking up top across the side of one of the containment pools. It's just part of the ocean, but you know what I mean, it's fenced in, and he's just walking past it, and the camera, they've set up a sort of trick shot here where it'll transition to like CG where it goes underwater, and you see the whole layout of the underwater base, and I'm like, oh, that was a neat shot. And because even though it's 1999 CG, the base itself looks all right because it's underwater, it's kind of dark, and it gets away with it. It works.
Yeah.
Your imagination can go with it. And I'm like, okay, you know what? There's little visual touches. Rennie Harlin, and it's not like he's making artistic movies, but he knows how to pace an action scene. He knows how to have the action so that when arms are getting bit off or people are getting munched on, it's just enough where it doesn't feel like it's cutting around too quickly. You're getting a sense of the motion of the action. Even the little things like when the sharks use Skarsgård's body to smash in the big window in the observation deck where the experiment room is, and there's like that one chunk of glass that comes out, almost like a piece of ice that comes out and lands like next to them before the honestly, it's actually quite frustrating, this scene, because you're like, you guys should have realized you had to start moving like 30 seconds ago. Like, you're all standing watching the glass crack as if you're expecting something
I guess this is
else.
death now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which, and I guess I do like that Sam Jackson's the one who's like, hey, we need to move now, because he's been in a situation before. He's been in a crisis before, so he's like snapping into action. Okay, it's a bit of, it's the simple, it's not that, it's like a thin bit of character work, but it's there, it's enough.
It's enough. It's enough for this movie.
It's enough for this movie. So yes, that's a set piece moment, because once that kicks off, there's a good like 40 minutes of action. Like you have the chaos of the arm taking him up to get taken with a helicopter, the explosion, and then the sharks break in, which has them escaping from the big flooded room, which then leads to them trying to like find a place to go. There's a little bit of a slowdown when they talk about it a little bit, but they go down thinking they can get to the submarine, but that's already wrecked, so they can't.
The sharks already beat them to it.
Yeah.
Because they said like it couldn't have happened from the explosion. Something else broke the submarine.
Yeah, I assume it was like sitting on the water or something, like just sort of like
the sharks.
Okay, well, yeah. No, well, I'm trying to in my head justify that the sharks could get to it.
Yeah,
but it wasn't like because I.
Well, they just Sam Jackson did.
Right, and so there's a little bit of slowdown here where they're transitioning to the submarine room, and then we get the Sam Jackson speech, and they go into the big shaft, the big elevator shaft, where there's more action, right? But it feels like constant action because while this is going on, it's while the subplot of LL Cool J, who's separated from everyone else, is having his own adventure with the shark. Which
shark
leads
and his parrot.
to one of the best one-liners in cinematic history.
I don't know what it is. Go ahead.
You ate my bird.
Oh.
Right before he sets a shark, he explodes a shark. Right before he blows up a shark.
You know what's interesting? I saw in the trivia that the director was complaining that they didn't really have that big of a budget for this movie, which seems crazy because they had animatronic sharks, they built a lot of sets, they had a lot of water.
Just the water alone makes this expensive, yeah.
Right. So the thing is, they couldn't afford a Hollywood parrot, like a trained Hollywood parrot. So they had to find two parrots that looked alike, that weren't trained for cinema. One that can like fly around to where it needs to go, and another one that can sit on his shoulder. And I don't know if you see in the credits, but like there's two names credited for the parrot, and one is like a woman's name who I guess did all the dialogue, and the other one is Frank Welker. And Frank Welker is like a really famous voice actor, and he's known mostly for animals. Like he's done a lot of work for like every animated show that you can think of. And one of the things that he's most famous for is that he can do like a flock of geese, like just with his voice, and one of the geese like has a cold or something. Like he's insane. He's insanely good at animals and stuff. So I thought that was kind of funny. They couldn't afford a Hollywood parrot, so they had to buy two parrots and train them to do one specific thing, and then they had to hire two voice actors to be able to make the parrot, which I guess is why the parrot dies also. It's expensive.
It's a good that shot of the shark jumping up and
eating the bird
is pretty good. And LL Cool J ends up in the oven, and then he sort of rolls out the oven, and the gas is leaking.
The shark starts the gas.
The shark starts the gas, yes.
In the oven, and then he takes an axe. I couldn't help but think, like, you're really, pushing your luck here with the
sparks.
Sparks from the axe against the metal. But he makes it out.
I mean, if he doesn't do that, like, so how long would it be before he dies in the oven just because the oven's on? Like, it's not going to take that long.
Yeah, he's probably losing consciousness pretty quickly.
So he's like, he has to risk it. I think I just love the absurdity of the whole thing because, I mean, obviously it's hilarious that the shark pushes the gas on, but what I love about it is that it's a genuine kind of like John McClane moment of like, oh no, how could this shit get worse? Oh, the gas is on. Oh, of course the gas is
Yeah.
turned on.
I can't open up the door to get out because there's a shark there.
So, and because it's a big industrial oven that has like layers, he like axes his way up to the upper level
Yeah,
and
it's
then
like a pizza oven.
comes out
big.
that door. Yeah, it's a big pizza oven, yeah. So and before he flicks the lighter into the room to blow up the shark, he says, "You ate my bird," and throws it in. It's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Also, lots of blood.
Also, lots of blood. Yes, they don't skimp on the blood from the sharks, which I
Mm-mm.
do appreciate.
They are just big pools of blood. Everyone knows that about sharks.
Although it is PG-13, which
I can see that.
makes sense for a number of reasons. I mean,
We mostly just get an arm ripped off. That's like the only real gore.
yeah. Well, it's the other thing, of course, is that you get the girls in the bikinis, and then Saffron Burrows like strips down to her underwear. But if this was R-rated, I would hasten to guess that there wouldn't be a bra on under that wetsuit.
No, the first the first girls on the boats would probably be nude.
Yeah, at least
They probably
topless,
would be
yeah.
having like a Jason Voorhees opening.
Yes, most probably.
I did like the note of the wine from the boat in the beginning spilling into the water to look like blood. Not
get-
that wine would attract.
It wouldn't.
A
No, but it's
shark,
the
but-
visual for us because it makes us think of the blood in the water.
Yeah, they've accidentally chummed the water.
It's like a wink wink. It's a cute reference to like a shark thing, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a good movie.
is it? I mean, it's genuinely better directed than like some Hollywood stuff that comes out
Oh,
today.
absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
it still feels like as silly as it is and as goofy as it is in places and as silly as some of the moments are. Like Michael Rappaport at times is a little bit hard to take. Like see later on when they're like trying to figure out, okay, they get up to level 1 because obviously keep in mind we're in negatives because it's under water, right? We're going down.
Poseidon Adventure, yeah.
Yeah. So they get up to level 1, so they're almost at the surface, but the stairwell that's going to go up is flooded, so they have to figure out something. So they need like flashlights to go and try and do a trick to maybe give them a chance. And they go into the blonde woman's room who has died while they were going up the elevator shaft. And there's like I didn't remember this, but there's a whole gag
Me
here
neither.
where Michael Rappaport's saying, "Oh, we need something with batteries. Oh, she's a healthy girl. Where would a woman put her?" And he starts like doing this with his hand to imply vibrator. And-
Yeah.
And LL Cool J, of all people, is like, dude, what's wrong with you?
That's why the ladies love him.
I don't know.
He's a classy cook.
Because there's a joke after this where he turns around and says, "Will you zip me up?" And he does it in this really joking way, and I'm like, like half of your friends that worked here have died in the last like 2 hours. Like, why are you
Yeah,
cracking jokes?
I agree. It's like the worst moment in the movie, honestly.
Yeah,
It just doesn't make it very much sense to me.
It doesn't make much sense. But not to skip over the elevator shaft sequence because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Because the water's filling up. Thomas Jane's going to open one of the other decks so that the water will... Because it's going to keep coming up and the shark's going to get to them. So the sort of... And eventually the ladder sort of falls down and it's sort of like going across horizontal. And so they're kind of trapped because they can't reach the upper level. Although I was thinking that it didn't look so tall that like Thomas Jane couldn't boost up Rappaport
Right,
if he really
yeah.
tried. But it's okay. This is LL Cool J's heroic moment because he opens the door and he's like, "Hey guys, I'm here to save
After
you."
banging on it like a shark.
Yeah, they thought it was a shark. They thought a shark was going to come through. And
Why
it
was he banging on the door? It's just like it's like a hatch. You have to open it with a wheel.
Maybe it was stuck. Maybe he got jammed and he was.
I think he was just like, I'm gonna be like a shark.
Why would he
I don't
assume?
know how to open hatches, even though I've been in an underwater vessel for a while now. I don't know what it is. Station.
Now, I get that the others have all seen a shark banging on a door, but why would LL Cool J assume that if he was going to pretend to be a shark, that a shark would bang on a door?
Didn't LL Cool J go down the hallway and then was chased after the shark that was banging through the door came through, and then he was chased back into the kitchen?
There was no banging. The shark, because the upper level, that part got flooded because during the explosion stuff, there was a hole made. Because there's a quick shot, actually, you can see the shark swimming into the building at the top. You can see the fin going in. But no, that was more of a traditional hallway, like, horror movie moment where he just turns around and there's a
good
shark
moment,
coming
yeah.
at him. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, blonde woman just falls into the water, though. And they think they may be able to save her, but then she just comes up in the shark's mouth, and
The shark
she's-
was just giving her the boost she needed.
yes, she was upset though because she had a love affair with Skarsgård.
Yeah.
She was
So what does she have to live for now?
I
Because
don't
he's
know.
gone.
If she just waits a few years, their sons will be old enough.
Gross.
I said her son, his sons. You know what I meant.
Yeah.
The
That's not
Skarsgård
cool.
boys. she's probably more age appropriate. Nah, probably not. Nah. Like I'm thinking of. I'm
I
still.
have no idea.
I'm thinking of Skarsgård now. No,
Right.
she's definitely closer in age to him than she is his sons. But anyway,
He's actually kind of young in this, yes.
I mean, yeah, young compared to I mean, he's probably like 40, maybe late 30s, but yeah. So yeah, I mean, from here, there's so Michael Rappaport gets killed, in a pretty fun sequence where they're trying to like find something to like drain some water somewhere or something, and the shark just kind of like goes whoop and like grabs him underwater. It's a fun sequence. I can't, you know what? I kind of like. We were joking about the Saffron Burrows scene where she takes her suit off, being a little bit, schlocky.
Of course, yeah.
But I don't hate the fake out with the model shark fin because they set it up earlier in the movie that's in her
right,
room.
yeah. Well, she's in her office
Yeah,
because she's trying to get her research.
yeah. So I mean, it was set up enough that it didn't feel cheap. It was like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. Because
Yeah,
that's
it was- I actually forgot also when I was watching it.
it's a nice little joke thing. And then she fries a shark, which leads us
Yep.
to just the three of them left. LL Cool J almost gets killed when they're doing their mad dash to the top, but he stabs the shark in the eye with his crucifix repeatedly. The
Yep,
Lord,
God saved him.
God saved him violently and
God
brutally.
will not let you take me.
No, I think what surprises me about this movie when I watch it every time is like just how much it does play out. Like the heroic theme that starts to play is like stuff's going on and LL Cool J's like climbing because he can't like walk because his legs all hurt. So but he's got the big harpoon gun that's like tied to the explosive, and
Yeah. Did you like his farewell letter and his legacy that he leaves behind as the recipe for the perfect omelet?
I mean, I hate eggs, but I did smile at it because he's so passionate about it. His passion for the perfect omelette, omelette. Particularly where he says, amateurs will add milk for density. This is a mistake. He gets so passionate about it, and it just cuts away.
It's pretty goofy.
And they could have almost went further with this and had him compare everything to like a recipe, like throughout just have him
That would
always
be
use
your shtick.
a recipe metaphor for whatever he's
I
doing.
don't think he does use a lot of food metaphors in it. Yeah, you're right. Missed opportunity.
He threatens the bird. He threatens the bird early on that if the bird
to
doesn't,
make tiny drumsticks or
Yeah.
something.
if he doesn't. And to be fair, that's played very well to me because I often threaten the cat that when he's annoying me, like, hey, if you don't shut up, I'm going to eat you.
I'm bigger. I can do that.
Yeah, I'm going to have some fried kitty for lunch.
I would never guess, kitty. I'm scratching my kitty cat right now. He's on my desk.
Oh, of course I would never. But there's times when he's getting on my nerves that, the threat does sound entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the shark goes boom.
She electrocutes the shark.
Oh no, after
Oh,
that.
no, you're talking about
we're
the
past that. Yeah, we're at the end now.
Oh yeah, the big boom.
The big boom. Yes.
Big bada boom.
Where LL Cool J thinks for a moment he's also killed Thomas Jane because when he shot the harpoon, it actually went through the fin and also through Thomas Jane's leg because which he cracks a joke about when he gets back. But yes,
Yeah, 45-foot shark. He said that's big. I don't remember them being that big.
that's pretty big.
Okay, guys, he's pulled on my. You can't play with my headphone. Okay, time to go.
Sabotage. Sabotage. Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's one of the things we like talking about in the science fiction podcast, which is this. I've got a point here. is that we like to talk about the science fiction themes, and we kind of try to stretch what's in the movie to talk about the themes of playing God, and is the cost too high for solving our problems, and so on and so on. But we were kind of stretching it to do that. So it's a relatively simple movie. This is the sort of thing where this type of movie would normally be a bonus episode, but it won a vote, so therefore it's a regular full-fledged episode. I do kind of love Deep Blue Sea though. It's really stupid.
I like it.
But it's funny because I think if you look up reviews from the time, they all say it's quite bland, and they don't think it's very good.
Yeah, that's strange because it's nothing if not entertaining. Actually, I remember leaving the theater with my mom, and she and I watched it together, and I remember her saying that was a really bad movie. And I think I was also convinced, well, if like adults don't like it, then maybe it is bad. But I still, like, in the moment was very into it because it was still at that age where I'm just like, I'm watching a horror movie, like monsters are eating people and it's great. It's almost, there's like a certain age you go through where you kind of feel like you're watching something you're not supposed to, and it's more exciting for that reason.
I think what gets me about like people, I mean, obviously it's not a great movie. I'm not trying to defend it and say it's like, I'm saying it's good for what it is, which is B-movie schlock, right? It's fun in that sense. It knows what it is.
Yeah.
But I think what gets me when people say that this is bad and they don't even like it on that level. I mean, if you're someone who doesn't like B-movies and you don't like schlock in general, it's not your thing, and fair enough. But the standard that we've gotten, like, I don't think people realize how much like well directed to a point this is versus some of the things we get now. That that I would say, that, like, I watched this and go
unwatchable sometimes.
Yeah, like, this feels like a real movie. And it's like there's been no good shark movies since then, because I had some fun with The Shallows, which was, again,
I like that one.
It had its own gimmick as well, which was, she's trapped on it was kind of almost like a bottle movie in a sense, because it was like, she's trapped on this rock, and the shark's, again, very unrealistic. The shark has this vendetta that he's determined to get to her no matter what. But
well, obviously the deep blue sea sharks did escape. There's at least one that they forgot about.
They forgot the flashback scene at the start where what's her face? Ryan Reynolds' wife. Oh my god.
Blake Lively.
Blake Lively, that's the one. Blake Lively. They forgot the flashback scene at the start of that movie where Blake Lively like murdered the shark's like parents.
So it's like Jaws 4 then.
The revenge. Yes. So, but like watching this, like, compared to a lot of stuff we get now, because one of the complaints I have about a lot of modern like mainstream movies, right? And I like, and this is including a lot of movies I like, is they don't look as good anymore. They don't look like the Marvel movies, while fun, mostly just look like big budget TV shows. They don't look like movies. And I watched this, and within the first like 10 minutes, I'm seeing stuff that makes it feel like a movie. Like, this feels like a movie, and all its schlocky glory, but it feels like a movie. And I really appreciate it. I think not having that across the board now, because now there's a lot of other methods that filmmakers use that are easier and cheaper or whatever now, like, it makes me really long for when movies look like movies, even the bad ones. So it's one of those things where it has this extra layer of charm for me now on top of just the charm that it had already, I think, before. I watched Die Hard 2 last week, and I had a blast watching Die Hard 2, and it's not that great a movie. It's the weakest of that original trilogy, but it was just like, that takes me back to a time like where action movies were, this was like the middling level of action movie in the early 90s, and I'm kind of into just watching a movie like this now.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I get like cravings for movies that are of a certain time because they feel more like movies than modern day, which is a strange thing to say, but like, I guess as you make more movies and as new directors come up as fans of movies, they're trying to like have a look that they're copying instead of inventing, and maybe or maybe it's just the new camera techniques or digital or something, but yeah, things just sort of blend together.
And I think it's part of the latter, but I actually think there's a very good point you just made there, and it's not to say that this is Like, this movie doesn't exist without Jaws, right? That's not. I'm not saying this is an original
Oh yeah, totally.
concept, right?
Or Jurassic Park.
Or Jurassic Park,
There's
right?
a lot of Jurassic Park in this.
But
Poseidon Adventure. Yeah.
But I do genuinely think there's a problem there is that a lot of filmmakers now are effectively fanboys and fangirls of things that came before, and I think you can tell when a director is, how do I say this without sounding pretentious, like when you look at someone like Christopher Nolan, right? Like or dislike his movies, you can tell that he's someone who just loves film and he wants to be a film director and he's trying to make films, and he like everything he's doing, even if there's elements that obviously are inspired by past concepts, he clearly loves Kubrick, he clearly loves old science fiction.
Yeah, but he also has style.
But yeah, he has his own style. He's trying to make, leave his stamp on it.
Right.
Whereas
I think a lot of what I said about directors can be applied to, Quentin Tarantino. But a Tarantino movie, like, yeah, of course he's taking from a lot of stuff, but like he still has a style where you're just like, that's a Tarantino movie. Yeah. That's his dialogue. That's his look.
The problem with a lot of modern directors, though, is that they're not really like having their own style or trying to leave their spin on it. They're just trying to recreate it, and it does feel a little bit lesser than as a medium because of it in general, I think. And I think there's a lot of that in a lot of modern movies, and it's why stuff like this just, and some of this is nostalgia. I'm not going to say that there's no nostalgia at play here, but there is something there. To be honest, this is a conversation that doesn't really belong alongside Deep Blue Sea. This is a conversation that belongs alongside just a more general topic of modern movies. Sure. Because I'm not really comparing modern movies to Deep Blue Sea here. I'm comparing modern movies. The example I always bring up, if you look at just a slither of a period in time, if you look at 1980 to 85, just that little 5-year period, and you look at how many like major things that we're still trying to remake that started in that one little period, or even the 5 years before that, 75 to 80, whatever you want to pick, it's insane how many things were new ideas, how many things were new takes on stuff, and then everything's sequels and reboots, and even if it's not, it's like, oh, this is just this thing again with a different name, which admittedly I still prefer that over just rebooting the same thing again, but usually anyway.
Sure, yeah.
But case in point, and sort of an argument to say that ultimately the details that we're talking about, well, they do factor into this, ultimately aren't that important if it still feels unique and it has a point. And the examples I would give for that is the new Planet of the Apes trilogy, which, while they are literally a reboot of an old franchise, and while it is literally based on something from before, they feel like movies because they all feel like they have something to say, and individually as well as a trilogy, and so on and so on. It's just that so much doesn't these days, I guess.
I agree.
This is a weirdly serious cinema topic to go into in Deep Blue Sea review, but you maybe think of it because you talked about imitating like past filmmakers as opposed to,
yeah, creating a new style or something that will be nostalgic for in 20 years. Which I don't know. I'm not saying that movies are bad now, but there is something like to watching a schlocky movie from the last millennium that is that feels better than watching a crappy movie that's made in the 2010s.
Yeah, a big part of it
because at least they have some sort of a look. They have practical effects, or they've got cheesy dialogue, or there's still tropes that you could depend on, and the pacing's better. It looks better. It's more colorful. I don't really know, but like
part of it. Do you know what part of it is because they had to shoot on film, and the thing is that film, because you have to like buy film, because you have to know how to operate a film camera, because you have to edit the film, and it's all these more old school techniques. There was a higher bar for entry, so that anyone who got to that point at least had the determination to put in the work to get to that point. So even if the films ended up being terrible, right? Because obviously there's still terrible films that were shot in film back then. Whereas nowadays, anyone can pick up a HD camera and go and shoot something. And there's a reason why a lot of the direct-to-streaming movies that are dirt cheap, or that the Asylum make, all have the exact same look. Because they're all just on the same...
They're all shot on an iPhone.
Well, they're not iPhones, but yeah,
Yeah.
the sentiment's correct. Like they're all shot in the same half a dozen cameras that are a couple of grand to buy because they're good enough that they look slick, but they don't have any style to them. They're just kind of, So, that's weird. Maybe some of that'll be a bonus, but I don't know. So if you're away,
I don't know. I think it belongs here.
okay,
People see to kind of pat it out a bit.
pat it out. Well, let's make like a shark and swim backwards, and maybe get to the rating the movie.
Okay, I'll go first because I always do. I think that this movie is super fun. Also, yeah, pretty bad, but good bad. The Michael Rappaport stuff I could do without. But I don't know. I think we've been pretty positive this whole review just because it's such a fun movie to talk about. The ideas are ridiculous, but I just love watching sharks eating people. I'm gonna go with a straight 7. I think it's 7.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I actually haven't seen the Jaws sequels yet. It's something I've been meaning to do.
Really?
I've got them. I've got
That's
them
exciting.
on my wish list on iTunes, so that when they go on sale, I'm going to snap them up and finally watch the Jaws sequels. But
Yeah, they're pretty dumb.
I'm looking. I've heard great things about how great Bad 3 is. I've heard Jaws 3D is special, but out of the shark movies I have actually seen, Jaws is obviously number one because it's like
Yeah, of course. Jaws is a
masterpiece,
10.
right? And the other good examples I enjoy, The Shallows. I didn't think 47 Meters Down 1 or 2 were particularly good. I saw
I didn't see
those.
them. I didn't see Open Water either.
I haven't seen Open Water, so I can't comment on Open Water.
I did see Open Water 2.
That's weird.
It was on
but-
TV. Yeah.
Okay.
And actually it was a good premise.
Yeah.
Not terrible.
I saw like 20 minutes of Sharknado ones and turned it off because
I've seen the roof tracks for him, but even the roof
yeah.
tracks can't save him.
the problem with those intentional bad movies is the charm's just not there. It's all
Yeah.
too cynical and whatever. It has to be real. Like the person making the movie has to believe they're making a good movie. Or it doesn't
Yeah.
work.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or they're so smart and are doing an intentional like satire of bad movies, which is also impressive, but that's not the same thing. That's
That's rare.
yeah. That's the other end of the spectrum. So yeah, like this is so hard to rate because I have a lot of fun watching this. I find it very rewatchable.
Mm-hmm.
Every few years I think it's very easy to sit down and watch this again. I think there's some awkward dialogue. The science, of course, is nonsense. The performances from a couple of the actors are just ropey to terrible. Saffron Burrows, like,
Oof.
I don't know how anyone ever convinced her she should try and be an actor, or like why the first person who gave her a big role in Hollywood did, because it's baffling. It's baffling.
She's still working today.
She's still working today, and I feel a bit like I'm being mean, but
She's horrible in this, yeah.
she's really bad. She was really bad in Wing Commander as well. So I've got two examples now.
She's just a stick figure,
Yeah.
which is the blank face.
Yeah, it's funny. I was joking about earlier on. I compared something to Tara Reid with glasses being a scientist, but maybe Saffron Burrows being scientist is just a better comparison.
Maybe.
In many ways. Although I actually don't think Tara Reid is as bad as an actress. And she's not good. Tara Reid's not a good actress.
She's fine in American Pie.
But I feel like, yeah, at least when she's playing, like, I don't know,
Ditsy Blonde.
Ditsy Blonde, she's fine in that role. She works well enough in that archetype.
I would say she has more charisma than Saffron Burrows. Yeah.
Saffron Burrows, in the two movies I've seen her in, notably, she's been a scientist trying to cure Alzheimer's at underground base, and she's been the squad
the
leader.
no-nonsense squad leader.
Yeah.
Or something, yeah.
Of a team of like pilots in space. Like neither role work for her. I don't know what role would work for her. Maybe a chair, but that's it.
Coat rack.
Coat rack. Okay. So apologies to Saffron Burrows, who we have buried over the course of this discussion. So despite all that, I find it very rewatchable. I find it fun. I think Thomas Jane's a likable enough leading guy in this, even though he doesn't really get a whole lot of like character development to work with. Samuel L. Jackson is very likable. LL Cool J is likable. It's kind of the heart of the film. The shark effects are mostly kind of fun, both practical and CG, even though some of the CG is obviously rough looking, but it's not unlikable to watch, as bizarre as that sounds.
Yeah, I agree.
See, my heart wants to agree with the 7, but my critical brain's saying I can't. My critical brain's saying, no, you can't give this a 7. It doesn't deserve a 7.
Just go with your gut.
My gut's not my heart. I'll say a highly recommended 6 out of 10. for take that for whatever it's worth. A highly recommended 6 out of 10.
I can't wait till we do Samurai Cop.
Oh, that's a bonus that'll be on Patreon only. So you have to go to Patreon to get Samurai Cop when that's done.
Thank you to the patrons who voted for Samurai Cop.
Yes, we were doing some action movie votes because Tim's paternity leave. We've stopped taking votes for them now. There's 3 left to go out at the time of recording, although one of them probably should be out by the time this goes up. And then there's 2 left still to do. The last one's going to be Samurai Cop, which is like Tara's favourite movie. Mainly because the main guy and it's got the same hair as her.
Yeah.
So
The same wig. He's got the one with the fringe, though.
Yes.
I said fringe because, you're British, so you would understand.
What do you call it?
Bangs.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I mean, I would understand bangs.
I got bangs.
I understand bangs. Well, Americans don't use fringe to mean bangs as well?
No.
Okay.
Purely British.
All right. Oh, that reminds me. Wasn't there a thing in Stowaway where... I forgot to mention this in the Stowaway review, but there's a moment where Daniel Day Kim corrects Anna Kendrick's going to say something, and she's like rehearsing her speech before they go on TV to talk to like an interviewer, and he corrects and says, no, that pronunciation is British, this is how we say it. And I forgot what the word is, but this blew my mind because I never even realised there was 2 pronunciations of it.
Yeah, you're right. I
can't remember what the word was though. That's going to bug me now because I wanted to bring it up and ask you.
Yeah.
For the culture difference. Oh.
I don't remember.
Oh, that's going to annoy me now. Damn it. It was like a shit. I was like, wait, there's another pronunciation. Like, how do the Americans say that word?
I don't remember what it was.
Damn it. That's going to annoy
Analogy
me.
or...
Wasn't that? No, I think it was something that meant, it wasn't eventuality.
Oh boy.
This hurts. I wanted to bring this up, but it's been too long now, so I forgot what the word was. Oh well.
We should probably move on.
Aluminium. Oh, that wasn't that, but I'm just going to say that to give an example.
Just to have something.
Yes. Garage. There we go. It's another one.
Garish? I don't know. I say things like a Canadian all the time too that I don't realize.
Eh?
Mm-hmm. I don't say A, but I use EH for a lot of A words. Hey. Stop. Sorry, my cat's trying to destroy my apartment. So like bag, like I'll get a grocery bag, and Americans don't say bag, they say bag. I don't know. I can't even do it. But apparently the way I say it is very Canadian. Because I say it like BEHG instead of BAG.
Bag. I'm just going to say it my way. Bag.
Bag.
Just BAG.
I guess I say some of the Canadian is still there. I can't get rid of it.
Okay. I'm not really hearing what you're saying. It's different about it, but...
A grocery bag? I don't know. I get made fun of for it every now and then.
It sounds like you're saying bag to me. I can't hear a difference, but you know what? That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. It's so subtle.
This has been your Deep Blue Sea discussion episode. Don't worry,
You're
we're back to a proper science fiction movie next week.
Hey, this was proper science fiction.
In fact, I'm not 100% sure because we met. Hold on.
Is next week the Tomorrow War?
Well, it's not the next one we're recording, but we might want to swap the next 2 we record so that Tomorrow War can go up quicker, like after it's came out. If that makes sense.
Okay.
The next one we're recording is The Matrix Revolutions, which will
exciting.
Which we'll have, so that'll either be next week or it'll be a week after Tomorrow War, but that's the next 2. The order might vary depending on when we can fit them in. If we can get Tomorrow War out nice and quick after it's hit Amazon Prime, then we will. For the clicks. We'll have some clickbait.
And we'll be doing the top 50 sci-fi list soon, as voted by you guys. So
yes, that'll be sometime in July.
make sure you get your list in.
So yes, get your list in. You can also, of course, thank our Patreon producers, who I will thank right now. So thank you to, let's scroll up, Tyler Hess, Cindy Palacios, David Short, Boardnow, Al Treisman, Christopher Moy, David Brown, and Stanley. That is all our producer tier and up patrons, so thank you very much to them. But you can support us for much less than that, can't they, Tara?
That is right. You can check out our Patreon page. It is patreon.com/MileFuzzTV. And if you donate as low as $1 per month, you will get access to bonus episodes of The Ace, which is where you'll also find our action cinema experiment bonus episodes for a little while. And we'll be doing Samurai Cop, so you'll want to check that out.
You're making fun
What
of
are you
me.
looking at me like that for? No.
I suspect you were.
And if you donate $5 per month, you'll get access to these reviews 1 day early, and some shows you'll get a whole week early. So that might be worth it to you. And you get to vote. This was a vote. Samurai Cop was a vote.
Yes. Also, we're working through Tremors movies, Starship Troopers as bonus episodes as well. So the first couple of sequels of those are up. We do one bonus a month. I'm mentioning that just because I thought it'd be worth promoting some of the actual sci-fi bonus episodes, which might be more relevant. I know you're excited about Samurai Cop, but I don't think that's going to necessarily appeal to everyone watching the show.
Well, this is borderline sci-fi, right?
True. I'll be curious to see the numbers on this one versus the actual sci-fi episodes.
Well, those don't do terrific anyway. It's always the odd one that does well.
So yes. What else was I going to say? Oh yes. So obviously, if you're watching this on YouTube, please do hit like and subscribe. Ding the bell for notifications. Comment. Let us know what you think of Deep Blue Sea. All this is important, especially since this is now split up over into its own YouTube channel. This is Male Fuzz Movies now, of course. If you found us here on Male Fuzz Movies and you're enjoying our discussions on sci-fi movies, head over to Male Fuzz TV if you're a fan or are interested in checking out Babylon 5, because myself and Tara are working through Babylon 5. We're near the end of season 2 right now, so go over there.
And the Twilight Zone.
And the Twilight Zone, yeah. So go over there and you can check those out, as well as some other TV reviews I do with others. But if you're particularly looking for the pair of me and Tara, that's what we do over there together. So go and have a look-see. I think that's everything. I think I've promoted. Yeah,
Literally everything.
Yeah, there we go. That's just done. So, you sure you don't want me to edit out some of that tangented stuff as a bonus bit?
I don't know. I mean,
I'm looking at the
whatever
time.
you think.
I feel like there's been like 20 minutes since we basically stopped talking about the movie.
Whatever you think.
Burn the ratings. I don't know. I'll probably just leave it. I'll probably forget. It's too much work.
My vote is to leave it in.
Please enjoy. Please enjoy. All right, that's been us. That's been the Atomic Cinema Experiment. Thank you once again for joining us for this discussion of Deep Blue Sea. And like I said, we'll be back with Matrix Revolutions and the Tomorrow War as our next 2 episodes. Order TBA. And it'll be TBA'd by whatever one goes up first. So look forward to that. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching science fiction and computer at Salsa.
My hat is like a shark fin.